Let's welcome in Jai Bala at this moment. He's our first guest on the show. Jai, what's your call on the Nifty? We've hit a record high. Where do you think markets are headed?
Yeah, good afternoon. See, the market is a little bit stretched in the extreme short term. I think a little bit of breather will help, and for further momentum to highs, we've been projecting a level of 9660 since March 2016, and the market is on its way. And as I said just before, a couple of minutes ago, the extreme short term needs a little bit of relief. So once that is done, I think the market can head much higher, and we are still seeing the key players take rotation, and we're going to see the other market players take the lead from now on. And banking has played a very important role. I think the other frontline stocks are likely to take lead from here on.
Right. As far as markets are concerned, what will be the level on the higher side to watch out for?
See, there's no resistance as such for the market. For the market, the key resistance to look out for is about 9,300, and after that, it's 9660, which is a level we've been projecting for more than 1 year from now on. So, as far as supports goes, I think the market is unlikely to go below 8,700 in the short to medium term. That's going to be an important level for the market. I think I will see the market touching 9660 before it even comes to say 8,700.
Right, but markets right now are in a consolidation phase. Say if markets convincingly close about 9,200, you expect that targets could be much higher than what you are even saying now?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Yes, as of now, the way the market gets there is very important. And if the market were to get, do a certain pattern, I think we have to look at the possibility of revising the targets higher. I think there's even possibility of revising the Nifty's price objective to much higher than 9660. But we look at it as the markets unravel. Let's not get too presumptuous, and let's be too early. You can be conservative and be on the lower side, and then later on come on project for higher targets. But there's no point projecting higher targets and then revising it lower.
Right. You mentioned about banking names. What's your target on Bank Nifty?
Yeah, we have been constantly saying, we are expecting 23,000 for the banking index, and right now it's very close to it. And once 23,000 is taken out, we are looking at something like 27,000 for the banking index for the medium term. So in fact, the banking index were the first to hit record highs. So we're going to see the private. We saw IndusInd and Yes Bank take the lead in the banking space. We're going to see other stocks like Axis, and we saw ICICI take lead. And we're going to see more rotation like that within the banking index.
Do you expect global markets to also be supportive?
Oh, definitely. As far as S&P in the US goes, we have a medium-term price objective of about 2,700 for the S&P. But once again, the short-term picture is very similar to what we are looking at on the Nifty. I think there is a extreme short-term correction that's due there. But from a medium-term perspective, we are looking at 2,700 for the S&P.
Right, and in terms of dollar index, do you think that has also made a top, so it may not impact flows into emerging markets like India?
I wouldn't be too sure about it. The key level is about 99.23. Once the dollar index drops below that, and I think we can say confidently that the top is in place. But whether or not the dollar index is going to go higher or lower, I think the trend for the equity markets are in place. And even if the dollar were to creep higher, it's not going to incrementally impact the larger trend within the emerging market space. I think we are in a very strong uptrend, and and that is still going to continue agnostic to the dollar index strength.
Right, and the uptrend that you're talking about, emerging markets, when they go in an uptrend, they tend to significantly outperform the developed markets, right?
Yeah, we've been seeing that for the Indian market in the last few weeks. That has been the case, as you rightly pointed out. I think we are coming to a stage where likewise the rotation that we're talking about, it'll also rotate from the developed markets to the emerging markets. I think there is much more upsides in the emerging market space compared to the developed market.
Right, and in terms of the global situation, in terms of US dollar rates, Where is it headed? Do you track the yields for US 10-year?
I do, but I haven't taken a look at it very recently, so I can't give a a objective opinion. So I would rather give that a pass.
Right. And commodity prices?
Yeah, you are looking at a very significant price action for gold in the next few weeks to few months. I think we are looking at a significant price move, about 15 to 20% for gold from current levels. I think we are looking at something like 1350 to 1400 from a medium term perspective. And if you look at Brent, we are looking at it drop a little more further, but it will not be something major. We're going to see, I think the ultimate level for Brent to drop will be about 42 to 37. That's the range we are projecting in the medium term.
Bala, we spoke about Nifty. I just wanted to ask about ITC. What is your call over there with the move that you're seeing today?
I think ITC is not that encouraging. That doesn't mean that it's coming to a reversal. But I think what I mean by that encouraging is that the upsides look limited to me. So we are looking at something like 310 to 320 to be the short to medium term upside for the stock. So I wouldn't place too much hopes on this stock, but I don't know. That's exactly what the price action are telling me, and that's what I'm interpreting. I could be wrong, but I wouldn't get bearish on the stock. But I would rather look at other stocks to invest rather than ITC.
Right. Reliance Industries, do you think that's looking bullish?
That's a very interesting stock. We've been talking about it for quite some time now. As we recall from last year's conversation, I said once it comes out of the range of 1100, I think the price objective from a medium to long term is about 1700 to 2200 for the stock, and the 1700 is a bare minimum for the stock. So I think that presents an interesting opportunity at its current price level. But at the extreme short term, it faces resistance at about 1350 to 1400. So once it's able to cross that level, the move will be much more faster. But look for short-term headwinds around 1350 to 1400.
Right, but what would be the ultimate target?
Yeah, we are optimistic that the stock is heading to somewhere close to 2100 to 2200. So it presents a very interesting investment opportunity even for long-term investors.
Right. So any declines in this would be a buying opportunity?
Yeah, that's what the price action is saying. So I would, if you have not yet gotten, I think it'll make sense to wait. But the even more conservative approach would be to stagger your investments at this point of time. Put in something like 10% of your idea and then wait for a decline. So that way, if the anticipated correction does not come through, you don't miss the move. But if it does come through, it presents an opportunity to enter slightly lower.
Right. In terms of metal names, do you like Hindalco, Tata Steel, maybe JSPL? Do you like these names? Vedanta, all of them have been on the positive territory for last 14 months.
Yeah, that's true. We've been very positive on Tata Metallics, and we've been talking about it. And we said last time that it presents a second opportunity, and even that's been doing well. And I think it's a bit late to create fresh investments in the metal space. I would say they still have say 20-25% upsides, but I would say I would rank that as a third or fourth in the list rather than top of the list. Yes, they do have short-term upsides, but I would look at a better investment opportunity where you can get greater returns from the markets.
What would be at the top of your list then?
I would look at something like Thomas Cook, which we spoke last time too, and we are looking at something like a 50% return from current levels. We can also look at something like we even spoke about a few months back on something like Sundaram Finance, which is in the financial space, and it has come to very close to record highs. It's a very less tracked stock, very less covered, but even now. It's got a little more upside. I think we projected a level of about 2,000 for the stock, and even the frontline space, Coal India looks very interesting, and it has potential to scale something like 450 to 500. So although it's on a decline at the moment, but if it were to hold about 280 and 270, I think it's a very interesting decline. And we spoke very positively about IT. And in particular, we are very positive on Tata Elxsi, and it's been doing well today. and I think we are looking at something like record highs for Tata Elxsi. And I said, once it crosses 1450 to 1500, I think it'll be a much faster move. We are looking at something like 2500 to 3000 for Tata Elxsi.
Right. Interesting picks over there. Let's start with Coal India first, the maximum tracked one. If you are expecting 450 over on Coal India, I think it would be a new high for the company.
That's right. I think the price action is, from a medium-term perspective, it's shaping up very nicely. But this is subject to the stock holding about 270 to 275. So at this moment, I'll be taking something like treading my foot into the stock. But once it can reverse one more time around the 270 to 275 mark, I think it will be a convincing proof that the price action that we are interpreting is on the right side. Obviously, we need the short-term resistance to come through, which are placed at about 320.
Right. Also, let's talk about the other pick, Tata Elxsi. It's already done very well. You think even from here it can double? Any particular reason?
Basically, we don't look for reasons. The price tells us the reasons, and most often the reasons are discovered in hindsight. When we were speaking about the day when the Britain was voting for Brexit, we said the pound is going to drop to record lows. And it was surging at that point at 1.5, but nobody knew the reason why that was going to happen. But the next day, we saw a surprise Brexit win, and the pound fell very sharply. So things like this will happen. So we don't give too much attention to the reason. The reasons will follow. The price action says that the highs that Tata Elxsi saw back in 2015 was a middle portion of the move, and what it saw from then on is a correction. And the last and final leg for the stock to scale record highs is still pending. So, that's the reason why I'm saying it can double from current levels.
Right. Also, let's talk about some other names which we have spoken in the past. So, something like Axis Bank, ICICI, they have been big underperformers. And assuming that the market is only trending up, you think these names can play a catch-up?
Oh, definitely. That's the way the market works. You see some stocks, fire away straight off the bat, and some stock are a bit patient, and the reasons obviously will come later. So if you look, we've been projecting for the long-term price objective about 600, 650 for Axis, and likewise for ICICI, we're looking at something like 350 to 400. I think if the banking index were to go to 23,000 to 27,000, obviously the frontline stocks need to perform. And along with these two names, I'm sure SBI will also start firing.
So all the three would be a buy call?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would. That's my interpretation at this point of time.
Right. In terms of some of the other names, what would you do with the telecom pack? So last when we spoke, telecom names were not doing that well. But after that, they have done well. What do you do with telecom names?
Yeah, it's still an avoid for me. I think we've been wrong on that space, and we anticipated the move a bit too early. And as far as telecom space is concerned, I would put a hold on the stock at this point of time. So I would wait and watch for some more price action to come through. And yes, of very recent times, they have started to show some signs of revival. But I would rather wait and watch in this space.
Right. As far as pharma stocks are concerned, a little bit of rally coming in Sun Pharma, Lupin also off late. Do you think pharma stocks can reverse their underperformance?
See, if you look at pharma from a long-term perspective, from 2009, you can call only one move in 2012 as a significant correction for the entire sector. So what has happened in the pharma space is they've had a stellar run from 2009 to 2015. And what we have seen in the last few months is just a long-term correction within the uptrend. I think we have spoken two names within the pharma's names repeatedly. One is Cadila, another one is Dishman. And we've seen Cadila come to the forefront and clock record highs. And if you look at something like Dishman, I think there is still room for it to pick up steam and pick up the slack. And I'm sure that's going to go to record highs beyond 320 and 325.
That's for Dishman, right? 320.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right. It has been your pick for really some time, right?
Yeah, that's right. So it has been an underperformer. You have to wait and watch. Obviously, investment is a patient person's game. So as long as your key levels aren't broken, the idea still sustains.
Right. Jay, thank you so much for taking out time for us. Always good to get a perspective from you. That was Jay Bala joining us and talking about the markets and the top picks. So Thomas Cook is one of the top picks. Coal India is top picks, and the banking space is also something which he likes.